Well, g'day everybody. So it's now Saturday here in Les Sables d'Olonne and everywhere else in the world in the time zone. It's the 18th of January and it's really cold here. Quite crazy. It must have been about -3 or 4 this morning. It's warm inside the house, so that's all kind of cool. We had a good entrant managers conference yesterday. Managed to get quite a few things across and look at all sorts of issues, and they're all bonding as well, which is cool. They're all talking to each other and getting ready for the next big thing after the Transat finishes. So that's going to be kind of turning up quicker than we expect. And we'll just in fact, I'm just starting another dialogue with the National Sailing Academy. Alison over there, they've been really good. In fact, I'm a bit behind the ballpark here. There's a lot going on, and we just started to plan events there with the great support of the team there at the Sailing Academy in Antigua. So looking forward to getting over there. We arrive on the 4th, I think it is. So that will go fast. And it was kind of interesting to talk with the managers, just hear everything that's going on with the entrants. Everyone's sort of settling in now, and there is a bit of a routine starting up. They're all pretty happy. It's interesting to watch. And from my perspective, having done the Transat myself in the 580, it's interesting to see and listen to the sailors and the things they're going through. It's quite fun. So we all do it differently. Every sailor there. In fact, you've got to be a bit strange. You've got to be a bit strong-willed and all that sort of stuff to want to take on something like this. Sailing solo and solo sailors are always a bit unique in that regard. So there's some cool stories coming out. Anyway, we'll later on. I'm going to go through and give you an explanation when we finish the tracker of the actual sails. A few people have asked questions about, what's an A3, what's an A7, what's an A5, how's the combination work with head sails and all this sort of stuff. So I'll keep that right to the very end. So if that's of interest, then stand by for that. And I'll show you all the different shapes and sizes and how they sort of work. I'll also talk a bit more about the wind vane self-steering gears and how that impacts the life of a sailor on board. And it's very clear, and I think those that are watching this regularly will see that the guys and girls that have got it nailed, and are at one with their wind vane, are feeling a little bit more relaxed, and in some cases a lot more relaxed than others. So yes, you need to hand steer if you want to get the best performance, but sometimes it's also important to relax a bit, conserve your energy, keep it in the bank for when you want to go fast, and when you want to go fast, you do that, and so on. But some are treating it in different ways. So fun to see. Anyway, I've got a lot of things stacked up here to show you later. Now I've just got to find the tracker. I've got to move them across so I can get to it to turn it on. Here it is. Okay, here comes the tracker, and it's very interesting indeed. So you should have the tracker now, and I'm on it as well. I'm just going to quickly go through the weather again. I'll zoom it out. You can see what's going on here with the fleet, but we'll come back to that. I'll give you the next 2 days worth of weather, because we're starting to move into that zone or that period I was talking about with this light weather. It's still holding. Sometimes the forecast can change over the 4 days, especially if this low pressure up here starts to move quicker than expected or change its shape and so on. But generally, from what I'm seeing at the moment, it's looking as if it's still holding relatively true to what was suggested about 4 days ago. There's the high pressure system there, and the bottom of that is driving the northeasterly trades all the way across, which will be there for a long time by the look. And if we just start pushing that forward a little bit, so each time I click it, it's about 3 hours going forward. So there's 9 hours, 12 hours. This is 4:30 in the morning tomorrow morning, and you can see this band of light winds to no winds is actually moving down towards the fleet. So that's a general progress. That's after about a day. So I'll just pick this up. So this is 7:30 tomorrow morning. 7:30 tomorrow morning, and here we are in 24 hours. Now you can see there, those in the north are going to run out of wind sooner than the other guys. The boats down here further south, they've got more breeze. Okay, that's pretty obvious. Middle of the road has got enough breeze to keep sailing, but even then, with everything up, if we look at that, if you've got everything up, you've got your A5 up, your A3, the biggest one you've got, is, it's still not going to give you hull speed probably on this current course. There's a bit more breeze down here, so John and Niels are going to keep moving. That might be a good tactical move. Anyway, we'll push it forward. So this goes till tomorrow night. And right down here. So that's a day and a bit later, but those that are up north, Argo and Pila, not in a good position, not the place to be, because if they keep going up here, they're going to be sitting there with no wind, and yet there's plenty down here. You're going to see Biggest Monkey and John here on I forgot it already, Delja, are going to be sailing quite well compared to the ones up the top. It is swinging around more to the northeast, a bit less easterly in it. So that's by early hours of the morning on the 20th, and then the no wind band is still getting light. Everyone's going to go light, and it's coming around to close to the northeast, but still mainly northeast. But boy, you might find these guys are just sitting in a hole with nowhere to go until this breeze comes up, whereas the others a little bit further to the south are going to keep moving. And you may even see, I think the Biggest Monkey might catch up that lost ground they've got in comparison to actually getting towards Antigua, because they could potentially be moving 1.5 knots faster than the mid-fleet here. And if that's the case over 24 hours, it's going to give them 30 miles, maybe even 40 miles in the next couple of days. So, and to give you an idea on that, if we say they pick up 40 miles in the next couple of days, it brings them back up here to, they'll gain about that much ground. So it puts them in a bit better position, not a hugely better one, but you might see a slight change there. So that's sort of what's happening. Let's just push it through the next one. And so on the third day, everyone's pretty much getting the same breeze, except then the guys in the north are going to get a push quicker, but it moves very fast down south. So let's just see. So there's midnight. They would be in the breeze at midnight, but the other guys are still not there. But there's 4 hours, 12 hours. 12 hours later, they're back in the breeze. So they're only going to get a jump for about 12 hours, and I think they'll still lose out. I think rather than being up here, I would rather be in the mid-range than that. But we'll have to wait and see how it pans out. So coming back here, blowing it up, that's the weather and wind for today. And we've got just enough if I put it there. And in fact, I'll just drop the wind off for the moment, just to show you the courses and the things that are going on. So if we start here at the back of the fleet, and you've got Popeye and Jasmine just carrying along quite comfortably. Popeye's making 4 knots and did 106 nautical miles in the last 24 hours. And Jasmine's done 102 miles, so Popeye's caught up a bit. I didn't actually remind the managers to let couples know when they're close together about their relative position so they can talk on the radio, but they look like they're quite close together there. So we'll just try it out on the tool here. They're only 8 miles apart. So I haven't heard that they're actually talking on the VHF. It'd be fun if they were. So both are doing quite okay. No issues there. We'll come up here to, it's probably a bit big to see the fleet. I'll just chop it down one more time. And Biggest Monkey, actually, he was hooting along. He was averaging 6 knots in the last position report over 4 hours. Now he's averaging 5.7 knots, and he's done 133 mile day in the last 24 hours. That's pretty reasonable. So he's obviously driving as hard as he can. And John here has done 125 mile days. That's one of his better days, doing 5.7. So he's getting in the groove as well. And they've got pretty much similar breeze all the way across. If you look at what's going on there, we'll put the weather back in a minute. So Immortal Gain is doing 5.2 knots, 113 mile day. You can see the average over the past 24 hours is always the best indicator of whether they're pushing super hard or just chuffing along. You got 133 versus 113. There's 20-mile difference in a day, so that's a knot faster over the day, near enough. Bibi, 103-mile day, also a bit slower than Neil's, 4.2 knots, and they could be talking on VHF if they wanted to, but he's nearly a knot slower at the moment. So that's backing off. Now the three here at the front, they're going hell for leather. I think they obviously know where they are. These guys are using their internet and satellite communications pretty effectively on regular contact. So I'm certain that they've actually logged on to the tracking site, because Little B, BBB, Dan has mentioned that, in one of his preachers. I haven't got onto the tracker to have a look. So he's obviously downloading that with his Inmarsat exec, Iridium Go exec, which is not a bad system. Takes a while to download the picture, but it's nice to know where the others are and what they're doing. So he's going hell for leather. 126-mile day, which is pretty strong in that breeze. 5.6 knots currently there. So, and then you look across at Origami, he's doing 5.4 and only did 100 miles. So he's slowly closing the distance towards Antigua. And I think you'll see that go. These three are really in the groove. Renaud, 5.7 knots, 118-mile day. So 118 compared to 100, he's taken out nearly 18 miles against Origami. And Little Bo has taken out 126 miles. He's taken out 26 miles. So watch this space. Kerry's been hanging on to the lead for about 4 or 5 days now. No one's got past him, but I think you're about to see something happen. Little Ren was pushing pretty hard in the beginning, but he's still struggling to catch up and gain ground. He's still losing a little bit each day, not a lot. So he's still holding on, but it's hard to catch up. But you never know. The trick, I mentioned it before, is that it's highly likely that even this group, which is spread out over maybe 150 miles, maybe would it be? Let's see. Maybe not that much. No, 120. Near enough to 120 miles across the top. In trade wind conditions, you're getting very similar conditions. Okay, but bearing in mind you've got this gradient coming down, so yes, it's going to be lighter on this side than it is at the bottom. So always fun to watch. Now, I have absolutely no idea what Pila's doing here. Maybe she went to sleep. I got no idea, because she was sort of heading down in the normal trend, and all of a sudden she shot off to the northwest. Now, there's a rule in the game, especially in circumnavigation, you never really sail away from the mark. And if I zoom this out and say, well, okay, where's the internet might be slowing down. Where's the run line? Even with Great Circle, it's sort of in this distance. So you can draw a line from where she is now to there, and then you can see where it's going. Okay, so if you remember that, then if we put the wind in here, the only course of action that I can think she might be doing is the breeze is coming from behind her. Maybe you can see it's tending to hook up like that. Okay, and maybe she doesn't like, or here it's supposed to be coming direct from the east, so she might be tacking downwind or jibing downwind. But if you're going to take a choice to jibe downwind, you would normally, bearing in mind the course is this way, that's the favoured side of the course, you would actually do your jibe down here on the port side. So you still got the speed to jibe across the breeze rather than dead downwind. And it's more favourable because it's actually sailing towards the mark. So she's chosen a jibe there. If this wind is correct, the forecast shown here is correct, which is sailing away from the mark, which you very rarely do. It's not a good move. Besides the fact that if she's getting forecast, it's going to be coming in light from the top, so you're better off getting down. We got a bit of a brief yesterday from Argo on what he was doing. He seems to be proactive in having a plan and sticking to that plan. But again, it'll be interesting to see what pans out over the next few days. And in fact, I'd go so far as to say that after this system here comes through, all of this stuff with the big low here and this sort of Azores high that's trying to form up something here, all this general fluff and bubble, you call it, just the weather, that may well be the last opportunity for boats to make a difference in their position based on optimizing their interpretation of the weather. Once this settles down going forward, if I pull that forward a few days, you've generally got, after this this calm spot here, you've generally got trade winds that are going to come in. Once this comes down, and that'll be it. So you'll have a situation where that's all they're going to get. The whole fleet's going to get it, and it's just how they sail the boats. So they're not going to get, potentially, it's possible there won't be another opportunity to make a break and get some benefit from the changing weather conditions. It's going to be just trades, more trades. It'll blow that direction from the northeast to the east to, somewhere around here. And every day it just comes down to how hard is it going to blow? So it's then how hard the fleet drives their boats, how hard an individual sailor drives their boats. So at the moment, there's still a few opportunities, and then it'll probably lock in and there'll be trade winds all the way. I'm waffling on here a bit, mainly because it's Saturday and some people like learning about the weather. So anyway, but you can see in a few days, you've got all this yellow here, and that's very solid trade winds. That'll be 28, 30 knot trade winds, gusting up to 35. The seas will build up. If we go to the waves here now, you'll see it's all purple. And if you remember the color gradient on the bottom here, all these purples are going to be 3 to 4 meter seas, and they'll have those 3 to 4 meter seas. The tops will start to break in the wind waves, and that'll probably go on for, it'll probably kick in. In fact, they've probably got reasonable seas now, 2 to 3. But when that kicks in, it's going to be like that for a couple of weeks, I reckon. I've seen this sort of thing before. So waves are there. If I bring that back to now, it's just a little bit softer where they are. So if I build this up, I've got to come up the top. The screen's a little bit too small here. If I build that up, here we go. So you can see they're still in the dark blue, and they're coming into the purple, and the purple's going to get a lot stronger in the next few days. You've got this big swell coming in from the top. That's interesting. They're going to have this big swell coming from the low pressure system, but not much wind. So we're going to be flopping around for sure. So a few things happening there. If I go back there, we should check out the clouds just to see, because they've had, they've got blue sky. So the solar panels will be topping up. Interesting about their solar panels, they, on Tracker, I had the smallest chart plotter screen you could buy. It was 5 inches across, and there was a really distinct reason for that, because the smaller the screen, the less power consumption. Some of the boats have got massive chart plotters that you'd have on a 40-footer, and they're starting to realize, you turn that on, and it's like a heater, but it uses a lot of power. So they're having to conserve all their electronics because they're chewing up a lot of power. I always went for the smallest thing, smallest radio, smallest bits, and then have it on gently. But it's all fun to watch. So they've got blue sky, sunshine. They'll be getting their solar power up. That's all good. Temperatures are getting warmer. You can see as they go across, it gets really warm down here. And some of the boats, a couple of them, didn't put in the mandatory vents. You've got to have at least 2 so the air will flow when your hatches are buttoned up, because they will be closing up hatches going through here with 3 to 4 meter seas. And some of them are going to get quite warm, I think. But anyway, we've told them they have to, they were supposed to do it before they left, and it's mandatory when they take off around the world for sure. Okay, back to the wind. We're going to go on to the leaderboard now to show you what goes on. I've just got to give you the statistics for 2 more. I think we did Little Wren, get rid of that. Little Wren, I'm sure we did the distance, 105, 4.7. Argo, 5.2 and 95 mile day, so it's already slowing down because we've got less weather. And Pila, 74 mile day. She's going to slow down a lot now. You'll see that drop right off. 5.2 meters, so still a fair way to go, like everyone else. So that covers that lot. I'll just pull up the leaderboard here. We haven't been through that, but it should be all, yes, looks like it's all working correctly. So again, start time 11th of January, and last position received was 12 o'clock UTC today, so that's correct. I'll go through origami first. Distance sailed so far, 859 miles from the start in Lanzarote, and 2,112 miles to go. VMG 4.9 knots, which is a reasonable average for these boats, and 24-mile distance made good was 100 nautical miles. So based on this sort of speed of 4.9 knots and 100 nautical miles in the last 24 hours, Origami could be expected to arrive on the 5th of February, the day after we arrive. Fantastic, because that's probably a reasonable expectation for a very fast boat, because Origami's not going slow. 100 miles a day is what we always work on passage planning for the average speed of the boats. So maybe we will beat them there. We'll have to wait and see. So looking at little B, notice that little B is 4.9 knots, exactly the same, 5th of February, but he did a 126-mile day in the last 24 hours. And you might say, well, why is that? They're the same speed. The difference is this speed is averaged over 4 hours only. But if you look at the last 24 hours, little B has actually gone further in the distance. So, but it still puts them in, because the ETA is based on the current speed, not the distance sailed in 24 hours. Then you go down to Renaud, 118-mile day, still on the 5th of February. Cheapest, it's going to be a busy day if this happened. And Biggest Monkey, 4.8, which is cool because she's also coming in, puts him in on the 5th of February. So you can see straight away, even though Biggest Monkey is quite a distance away from the others, it all averages out. The boats are really moving as a fleet, which is good to see. That's one of the beautiful things about One Design boats. Everyone's still in the hunt right to the last minute. So we'll have to wait and see. So John on number 100, because I still haven't nailed the name and I get embarrassed about pronouncing names, and I will check it out again. Delja 100 is doing okay. 4.6, 125-mile day, 800 miles from the start. So he's about 60 miles behind Origami. And he'd arrive on the 7th of February based on that average speed. And you can see how just the slightest difference in average speed really impacts your ETA. So there's a couple of days behind Origami if that was the case. Then Little Wren. Little Wren is 105-mile day, 4.6, and 7th of February ETA. You're doing okay. Immortal Gain, again, 7th of February. Going to be some busy days there if that happens. Argo, looking like, because it's slowing down, 4.3 knots, 95-mile day, 9th of February. And Peter Punk, Peeler, 4.3, 74-mile days, 9th of February as well. And that's it. That's the whole lot. So that's kind of fun for the next couple of days. Anyway, after that, it'll be hang on for the ride. And then we'll see who's actually driving their boats harder than others. And just I think that's that's all I need there now. I'm going to try and press the right buttons here. If I go there and I come back here, just based on my experience, because what they're going to go through is very similar to what we had in 2021. If you've seen Pete's movie on YouTube on Origami, for Pete, he was on the edge. He was quite not anxious, but it was a whole new experience for him. It's a great film. I highly recommend it. And he was, wondering what to do, how to set the boat up with the rig, because it was blowing, 30, gusting 35 for weeks. The sea built up to 3.5, 4 meters, maybe even bigger than that at times. It was breaking. You'd occasionally get something slap into the boat and fill the cockpit. And this was all under little head sails. I had a reefing gear on my boat, and Pete was using Hank sails. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, he was. I think that's right. He was using Hank sails. And so it may have been a bit easier for me to set it up with the furling gear because I can reef the sail in and out with the boom pulled out. So it was a bit easier. But I'm quite certain some of them will get very bored with these strong trade winds that are about to come. When I say bored, I mean frustrated and not anxious, but it's one of these things where you want to do something, but there's nothing to do. Once you set the boat up, you just got to hang on for the ride, and you're sort of waiting. You're waiting for the next wave to slap the hull or do something like that. So some more unique experiences coming for all the skippers for sure. And we did get the message across to them via the managers that on odd days, starting tomorrow, hopefully, we will actually start to get the short message updates from the entrants, and we can give you that rundown when we do the tracker, because I'll probably try and do the tracker every day around about midday or after the 12 o'clock position. So sometime between 12 and 2 in the afternoon. So that's 1 o'clock French time. So I'll work UTC. So sometime between between 12 and 2 UTC during the day, I will probably be trying to get a tracker update up. Jane's been sharing the posts that we've been picking up, and there's a lot of posts going there. On Monday, we'll get the first phone calls, and that'll go up on SoundCloud. That'll be fun. Spoke to Graham this morning. He's all ready for that and hyped to do that and record, and then Graham will give you another epic blow-by-blow of the week's activities. We discussed that as well. Graham's writing the book, I think you all know that, and he's putting everything down in great detail, so we'll have a great record of the things that are happening. And the other thing that I'm doing, boy, you're getting all the news today. Weekends are always just waffle on, boring alert, call it what you like, is I'm actually going to start working on the notice of race for the 2026 Transat. And we've got a lot of people asking us questions about that, when's it coming out. Entries will open for the next Transat very shortly. And in fact, probably just after the start of the Mini Globe race, we will issue the pre-notice of race for the 26 Transat. There will be a two-handed division. There will be an increase in entry fees because we've gone through the full cycle of Transats, and we're going into our first Mini Globe race. This is where Jane and I are supporting it heavily with resources over the last 5 years because we wanted to get everything happening, and so to a strong degree, the entry fees were what I call nominal. You know, the entry fee in the Mini Globe race, for instance, is only €3,500. If you wanted to row across the Atlantic for 8 weeks, you'd pay €15,000 to enter one of their events. But we heavily subsidise as part of the theory. So there will be an increase in entry fees, but that goes with the territory because it's very hard to find sponsors these days. We're still working on it. And if you're a sponsor and you want to get involved with all this, then give us a call. Doesn't matter what size, you know, we're happy to put partners' names up there. And I'm getting very excited about the Mini Globe race. The Transat now, this third edition of the Transat, is directing new people towards us. It's really quite cool. And it's achieving everything we ever hoped it would do. And we're all very excited about that. So we're also just about to launch officially launch the Golden Globe Yacht Club, which is the Burgess behind us there. This one here, I think I've explained it before, but briefly, that's the racing pennant for the Transat and any Alma Class Globe 580 events. So in this one, with the orange centre square there, it means it's a 580 event, okay? And the other one over there has got three colours on it. It's got the gold, the blue, and the orange. That's the Golden Globe, the Ocean Globe, and the Mini Globe. That's the actual Yacht Club Burgess. This is the 580 racing pennant version of it. So that's happening, and this is the coin. I think I've showed you that before. This is the Globe Yacht Club gold coin. If you're a member, you get one of those. All the entrants are members. On the back, it's got a verse of the Art of Adventure. And as a by the way, I just pulled this down before. That's the bulkhead racing plate that those that saw the big party we had in Lagos. If you enter the Transat, this is the commemorative plate that you get. Shows the course across the top. It's a gold plate, solid gold, 18 karat gold. They weigh a ton. And the reason I've got this here, because it's very funny, we have a bigger one, which I'll show you later in the MGR, a really big one, and they're super heavy. And we can't carry them on the plane. They're too expensive, too heavy. Weighs many kilos. So I've got all of the entrants carrying cargo for us in this race. It was a really funny story. In the briefing, I'm telling the entrants, I'm saying, hey, look, keep your boats light, guys and girls, because weight is really going to slow you down. You got to get the, and I calculated, I forget what it was now. We did the numbers. If you lose, it'll slow you down about a quarter of a knot. And I worked out around the world for a quarter of a knot could take a couple of weeks, something like that. And then when I finished all that, I said, hey, by the way, we need some things carried to Antigua. Can you do this for volunteers? And they all volunteered. But anyway, Renaud, to cut to the quick, Renaud sent me this cryptic message on my phone yesterday, and he said, I took a bit of water down below, fresh water out of my tank and blah, 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 and it flooded the bunk. Can I take the bubble wrap off and whatever? And I couldn't work out. So what's this about? And I'm thinking he's got a problem. And so I sent him the message back and said, hey, all okay on the other issue, but what are you talking about, the bubble wrap? And so what happened was we had a couple of these bigger plates, the bigger ones, stowed on his boat, and it got water in there. And one of them was his, and it was a top secret thing. He wasn't supposed to know what's in there. So I had to give him permission to open it up and dry it out. But I said, and it's got his name on it. This is for the mini globe race. And I said, but you don't get it now. You can't keep it. He said, whoa. It was very funny. Anyway, I digress. So, right, moving right along, I'm going to now just show you some things about sales. So this could be a boring alert if you're not into sales, right? So if I hit that, okay, so what this is a graphic of the three asymmetric spinnakers, okay? You all probably, or you should know about a mainsail, so I don't have to tell you that, and you all should know about a head sail, just a jib, right? So that's pretty straightforward, standard yacht stuff, whether it's a 420 Olympic class boat, you've got a head sail and you've got a mainsail. Cruising boats, all the same. But the spinnakers can change. So, yes, we have a spinnaker pole, but we don't have any symmetric spinnakers. By symmetric, I mean it's like the big parachute ones, the same either side, right? These are all asymmetric spinnakers. And the spinnaker pole on the boat is used to hold the jib out if you need to, or you can actually hold the clue of these asymmetrics out as well if you want to. So if this is like a view looking down from the top of the mast down towards the deck. And so this red one, I'm going to show you different views. This red one is the A7. It's the smallest, heaviest one. It's got a heavier cloth, which is about 2.5 times the strength of like the A3, which is this really big one. So if you saw the little video clip, the fun video clip that we did of origami, once he finally got round the buoy at the start line at Rubicon Marina, that red one he had is the big one. This is the biggest, lightest one that we've got. It's called the A3, right? And it's, reasonably good. I'll show you the dimensions in a minute, how many square meters it is. And then the next one and so that's quite full. So that's good for, you can actually run it downwind. You can run it to about nearly 180 degrees even. You can just about roll it across, roll the luff across if you ease off a little bit of halyard maybe, and ease the sheet out here. The luff will actually roll to at least 180 degrees, apparent wind. And certainly its target direction is about 120 degrees apparent. So if the boat is 4.5 north and south, and the wind is coming from, here's 90 degrees from the east this way, if the wind's coming from about 120 to 130, 140, 120 is probably optimum for the cut on this sail here on the A3. The next one, which is the A, now I'm getting them mixed up. Sorry. Let's start again. Okay, this is the A3, okay, the biggest one. So the A, they go reverse numbers. So the smallest number is the biggest sail. The A5, which is this light green one here, is actually set up to optimize at about 90 degrees apparent. Okay, so you could actually sail this really well, quite fast at the wind on the beam, and then you adjust the sheet. Relatively to what the wind direction is. Okay, so you can harden up if it's going just slightly forward of the beam, and you can slack it off if it's going quite solidly after the beam. It's smaller in size. The weight of the cloth is about the same. In fact, I think it's exactly the same as the A3. Okay, now this is the new one. What I found when I did the Transat going across the Atlantic, for me, I should do a screen here, but I can't. I'm probably bored looking at this picture. Was that there was a big hole in the sail wardrobe, because I could use either the 3 or the 5, but sometimes even using the smaller 3, if I had my head sail up, boomed out, I was worried about this. Hang on, we got the 3, and I was worried this green 5. I was worried about popping the 5 because the wind strength was too great and it was a little bit too big. So we decided on this one here, worked on it with Quantum, and this is very versatile because you can, the optimum wind angle for this is probably, it's well forward of the beam, okay, so you're probably 80 degrees or more, right? And you can actually use it as a small head sail for not going to windward, but you can certainly climb to sort of 50 degrees or something if it's light. So, but if it's heavy, if the wind is and it's behind you, this is a great sail for running twins. You'll hear some of the skippers talk about running two head sails that go up in the reefing gear. If you put this just flying it on normal furling gear on the bowsprit, it's a bigger head sail. And for downwind in a heavy trade wind running, this is fantastic sail. And you would have seen a lot of the entrants, or a few of them, running this as a light, big Jenica sort of thing at the start, not going to windward, but climbing pretty high. So that's enough of that view there. Here's another view of the same thing. These are the three sails. You can see here the A7 looks like a head sail even, and it is cut pretty flat, so you can actually climb pretty well with it, but you can also run with it downwind with a jib out, poled out the other side, for quite a powerful combination. And this is a really versatile, hard-working sail. It's about 2.5 times stronger cloth than the others, and goes from there. So you can see the shape, really nice shape for the A3. So you've seen the red one on origami, and then there's the standard A5, which is in itself a very, very cool sail. So now, if I'm lucky, I've got one more thing I want to show you here, but Jane showed me how to do this, and I've got a feeling that got it. Okay, so now I've got to go onto that screen, which is here. So now hopefully you're seeing the same thing I am. Okay, you should be seeing three red ones here, three red drawings. This is the A3, the biggest one that we've got. It's 26.76 square meters, and there's the shape flying, just like you saw on origami. Here it is in a top view looking down towards the deck, really full shape, pulling really well, light cloth, and there it is there running downwind. And this is where you can actually, I've never held a pole to hold the A3 out, but I certainly have used a pole quite a few times to hold the A5 out, the next one I'm going to show you. So that's what the A3 looks like. And then this is the A5. You can see distinctly smaller, completely different shape, right? You can see the shape there. It's a bit more powerful for 90 degrees apparent. So if you've got the wind here 90 degrees, you can see on the other one, I didn't give you the apparent. We've got a polar on this, not for speed, but for the various wind strengths it'll take. But this is set up for an apparent wind, coming well aft, 160 degrees, 150, 160 degrees, and you can flop either side of that. So you can see a distinct difference in the A5. And then this is the new one. This is the A7. It's an absolute must. If you're sailing without the A7 and you're going around the world, you're going to miss out on a lot. Even though a couple of them are using twin jibs in a twin groove reefing system on the bow. So quite tight, target apparent wind is in through here, maybe 50 degrees, 40 degrees. Sorry, not 40. 60 degrees is probably as far as it's probably meant to go, but people are squeaking a bit further than that. The other thing is that both the A5 and the A7 have got straight luff, so you tension the luff on this right out to the bowsprit all the way, and you put a little reefing gear on it, right? So it's a flexible luff. It's anti-twist torsion line up there that holds it up, and you put your reefing drum on here. You can roll it in, roll it out like a blind, and you can do exactly the same thing with the A5. Okay, so the A5, you've also got that on a reefing system. Okay, we'll do it because it's a straight luff. You can see there. Keep the luff tight. Now the interesting thing is with the A3, that's actually not a straight luff because it's got a curve in it. You need that curve to drive it, but you can still reef it with a reefing system. And a lot of people get confused here. Even now, I have guys that are good sailors and they don't understand what a top-down furler is. Now, a top-down furler, because you can't put a furler on that because you won't be able to reef it up, because if you try to furl it up, there's no tension on the luff, right? But if you imagine this, so this is flying free, just like normal, but it's connected at a drum on the bottom here, and it's also got a swivel at the top, right? But it has its own line. It has a line, a line that goes through here that's tension tight, right? And what you're doing then, if you want to furl this up, it looks horrible when you do it, But basically, that tight line and the way it's set up at the drum here, there's a slight connection on the drum, and the same with the swivel. Once you start turning that line, it captures the bottom of the sail and starts to actually twist the loose luffed sail around that rope, right, and starts to catch it and turn it, and it looks really ugly while it's happening, but eventually the whole lot of the sail can be wrapped around that torsion line. So it's called a top-down furler. There's lots of videos on YouTube that'll explain that to you if you don't quite get it. So that's how you do it. So all three could be on their own reefing systems. And finally, I hope it's not too boring, finally, the boat can quite happily sail with the A5 and the A7 with on their reefing systems on the bowsprit. They just leave them there. It creates a bit of drag. It is a little bit of weight, but it saves you having to go forward and take it off all the time, because you might be rolling this in, rolling it out. And if you've got the two, if you've got the A3 and the A5 up there, you can go wing and wing with them, and it can be quite powerful as well. So lots of different combinations. Anyway, I'm going to get back out of this now. I've got to hang on a sec. I've got to unbury that and come back here. And then, yeah, that's enough. So, rightio, that's all the boring work done. I don't know whether any of that made sense, but we will. I'll just pick this back up and try and find the comments here and see if there's any questions. So, g'day Rex, John. G'day John. Turn the internet signal here from Apple phone average. We've been juggling phones. Just we're not on our Starlink system, and we've had lots of. It's the weekend, and it was so. Oh, so you're working okay? Okay, Jane says it's all working. So it's the weekend. When the weekend is here and it's cold outside, everyone in the Sardine is on the internet and it's sucking a signal. So we miss our Starlink. Okay, now I've got to drop this down. So starting Thursday morning from the States. Selma, hello from Winter Day in the Sables. Hello, g'day from Ireland. Is the different solar panel setup affecting the wind vane performance? It can do, and we pointed, we obviously discussed that with various entrants, where there was a factor. The key element there is when you've got your wind vane going, if it's, where the wind direction, the apparent wind's coming from to the flip-flop vane, so you might need to make sure it's always level, right? So that the air is coming top and bottom and creating no resistance, because if you've got something blanked off this way and you flip-flop there, you're going to get a lot of turbulence. So it actually can do. And in fact, I'll give you some breaking news. Some breaking news as I'm writing the new pre-notice of race for the Transats, and also for a builders update. We have entrant updates that go to the entrance of our events, and we also have builder updates which go to all the builders. We're pushing through 250 builders now, potentially. That we're actually going to ban. We'll grandfather, but we're banning the Targas. Jasmine's got a Targa, Holiday Dan's got a Targa, and all the rest of it. Now, they're a disaster for a few different reasons. It affects the stability of the boat, and it creates unnecessary windage. You'll see Dan's got his all head knockers there. I mean, it can be quite dangerous, whacking the head on the thing. So both those boats will be grandfathered, so they'll be able to hold on to their Targas, but we don't think it's a good look. And there are some sound reasons not to do that. So we won't allow that anymore. And so any current builder they'll be advised about this when they get their builder's update that's already built a Targa. They'll have a week or so to send us a photograph and just lock into the grandfather clause. But we're saying we don't want them anymore on the 580s. And that will mean that anyone that's putting solar panels up, there'll be two flexible mounts on the top, which is a lot lighter and a lot simpler. But yes, when you've got your wind vane cranked, you need to make sure there's no interference with the flip-flop vane. And the easiest way, if it's close, is to have them flat when you're under wind vane. You can't adjust it to, create turbulence in a shadow. If it's in the leading edge, it won't matter trailing edge, it won't matter because it's behind the draft. But even then, if you want to get real technical, it will in advance direct the airflow in a different way. So that's something they've got to be aware of, and it's not difficult to work with that. You can get it sorted and go for sure. So yeah, it can have an effect. But just following on that theme, just that you're probably seeing that some of the entrants are more relaxed with their vanes than others. That's an operator thing. I wrote a big story about, I've been involved with wind vanes for a long time. I forget now, 40, 50 years. And I've used a lot and had a lot and used to be an Aries agent and all that sort of stuff. But there's two things that are critically important to your wind vane. The first one is you have to know how to fly with it. That's the easiest way to explain it. I'm a bit of a crazy pilot and stuff, flown all sorts of things. And I relate it, the closest way I relate it to something is basic aeronautical knowledge, and there is an issue of flying the vane, adjusting all its sensitivities, when you cock it back and what you do with the counterbalance, because some of them have got variable counterbalances now, like the Wind Pilot, I think, has in the South Atlantic. You can vary the sensitivity with that. And then there's the issue of your fore and aft. You can desensitize it. If this is the leading edge here, you can angle it back to desensitize, but if you angle it too far forward, it just goes nuts. It's got to be either vertical or back. And so as a rule of thumb, I tell people just have it just a little bit back, just to make certain that the waterline of the boat hasn't sunk a bit when you're sitting at the back of the boat, which will change the vertical a bit, because the boats are really weight sensitive, right? So there's lots of issues to understand that stuff. Very simple to understand when you get it. If you don't get it, it's all a bit confusing. And the same with your servo pendulum in the water. If it's a servo pendulum system, the blade's going to be adjusted forward and aft. And again, I usually say with people, they might have it vertical, but as soon as they put the weight in the back of the boat and the back of the boat squats down, then all of a sudden here's the vertical blade. As the back of the boat squats down, you can see the blade's not straight down anymore. It's pushing forward. And then it's oversensitive. As soon as it turns, it's just whack, bang, just crazy. So you got to understand how to make them fly. The next thing is that I did some basic numbers, and wind vane components can go through, I think it was about 5 million cycles around the world, like 5 million times. And anything that's mechanical that's moving 5 million times, you can see what happens there. So you really have to be on top of visual inspection, spanner checks, mark every nut and bolt so you can look at it and see, it's undoing or whatever. And so once you get it, it's fantastic. And as soon as I hear people talking about, I'm getting too much sleep, they've got it, right? And that's separate from the issue. If you want to go fast, you have to hand steer as much as you feel like, so you might be lacking sleep because you want to drive hard. But I'm absolutely certain they're all slowly getting in the groove. So long answer for a short question about solar panels. So thanks for that. I've got it. Cheapest. I've got it. Cheapest. Now I've lost it. I'm not able to scroll this thing. There's something wrong with the size of my. I've lost the spot here. Sorry about this. I'm going to start from the top again. Okay. Hi from Ireland. I'm back to John. Doing it. Okay, John Pinto. Didn't realise Holiday Dan lost his dagger boards. Yeah, no, neither did I until today. It's not the end of the world. He called them stabilising boards. It's not a safety issue. It's just a performance issue. But they can come in handy. So, it might give him a little bit of a disadvantage, and he's probably already working out how to make new ones. The only reason he could have lost them was if it's a sliding, you lift them up and down, and maybe he's the sleeves that he pushes it into are a bit too loose and it popped out the back or something. I'm not sure, but I always have mine tied on. Everything's tied on. If it's movable, it's tied on. So not sure how he lost them. Another briefing. Timing of these, a bit of a puzzle for me. Still sorting that out. Yeah, sorry, Jack. I don't have a set time at the moment. Our life is all over, and I just do it as soon as I can. But I'm now going to try and do it between sort of 12 UTC and 2 o'clock in the afternoon. G'day, Christine. Good afternoon. I hope everything's okay for half the sailors. Big hug from Portugal. Yep, all's good. And Caveman, g'day. Ivan Dullo, everyone from San Lanzarote, yes. The Ivory Coast, crikeys. Wondering whether Peeler is heading towards the new breeze coming in from the north, getting into the new breeze earlier than the rest and also cut the corner. Maybe, but I don't know whether I would. But I'm not an expert either. These are all opinions. Everything you see here, I learned a long time ago, people like hearing my opinions, but I'm not always right. So don't worry about that. Treat it with a pinch of salt. Pila's up to something, and I'm just not sure what she's up to, but she's doing okay. And that's exactly right. She could be going to get the breeze first and zip down or something, but maybe she's going for the new breeze. Yep. Morning from Northern Ireland. G'day, hello, Southeast Asia. 50 watching, but only 18 likes. Yeah. Good on you, Jonathan. Please like and subscribe. It's fantastic for us. If you give us a tick or an emotion or even ask a comment, comments rack them up, it really helps us a lot. So thanks for that. I've lost the bloody thing again. Here we go. Like the video. Thanks for that. Journey of Shark. Will the MGR raced every second year? No. The MGR is a big one for us. So that will be in 2029, every 4 years. And the pre-notice of race for that will be coming out sometime. It'll be after Panama, so March, April, May. It'll be probably in May, somewhere through May. It'll be in that gap between Panama and Fiji, the new notice of race, pre-notice of race for the next MGR. So you can join the growing list. I've got a list of quite a few people that are busting to join the next race. So, but the fleet size will be restricted to 20. That's it. So we're only going to allow a maximum of 20 boats in the next MGR. Journey of Shark. Okay, we'll wait on to answer you guys' questions. Is the 24-hour distance made good measured to the corner of the optimal track, the red line, or the finish in Antigua? This is a grey area. It's a bit of both. It's a funny anomaly, but you could say it's close to the red line, close to the course line. Okay, there's a bit of that. If you sailed away where the course line's got an angle now going down, if you sailed away from that course line at 90 degrees, you'd probably throw a VMG of 0, right? As if you didn't get anywhere. So it's a bit of a mix. Okay, I think that makes sense. Do the boats have do boats with dagger boards, not sure what they're called, on the stern have a significant advantage? No, not at all. In fact, there's always this debate about whether they actually do any good or not. And if you watch the boat tours, some of the skippers have got opinions on the dagger boards. I was 50-50, but realistically, I was tending to think 60-40. There are some situations when they are absolutely valuable, handy. They do a good job. Other situations you can't quite work it out. This doing anything nuts and pull it up, pull it down. Where's that going? But they're worth having. So not a huge advantage either way, but they're absolutely worth having. So Tenagai, ETA on February the 5th. Awesome. I'll be in Antigua if they're cool. Yep. Okay. Look forward to that. I reckon that'll be the earliest, 5th of. And there's a lot of people coming in for the Caribbean 600, of course. There'll be a lot of boats there shortly after. With the guys having satellite connections, how are you monitoring outside weather routing help? Or is it based on gentleman's trust? Yeah, they can do anything they want, but it's a gentleman's agreement, and I'm certain no one's cheating, on that one, because it's they can get any weather, they can talk to anyone about weather or things like that, and all we don't want them to do is say don't, or you know what it is. You just say, if someone tells you to go that way, that's routing. So just don't listen to them. So thanks, Mike. Packaging provisions for 2 persons for 20 days in the boat will be interesting and challenging. Not as hard as you think. It's quite surprising. The boat, when I went across with mine, I had way too much food, but I did that on purpose. And you'd be surprised. It's a big little boat, and it's designed to carry its own weight. So from empty to, got like 750 kilos you can put in the boat. So it'll take 2 people and the gear, and it's more than 20 days. They'll have to gear up for the usual trip here. We stayed 28 days, okay, and going across. So most people cater for about 35 days worth of food for 2 people. That'll be fun. It'll be good to watch, and I think two-hand is going to be very popular. So the sales graphic was great and helpful. These briefings always. Thanks, Jonathan. The spinnakers drive the boat well, but can cause problems. My big one for the GGR 26 is the 100 square meters. Yeah, you're not allowed to have furlers though, Pat. I forgot. Pat is a GGR sailor, right? Great guy, real champion. But bugger off, Pat. Get out of here. you're a man, pull it down without any strings. And we do that on purpose. In the GGR, we don't allow them to have spinnaker socks. We don't allow them to have flexible furlers. So the biggest they put up depends on how good their gonads are, because they got to pull them down by themselves without anything, which is a real challenge. And that's one of the beauties of the GGR. It's nothing like. In fact, thanks, Pat. You just reminded me, because I'm doing a comparison at the moment. This will make you laugh, Pat. Doing a comparison between the Vendée Globe and the Gold Globe, because there's always this debate, which is the toughest. And we make very little claims about the GGR, other than that it's one of the longest and loneliest and all that sort of stuff. But I watched some reporters reporting on the Vendée, and it was a joke. Some of the things they were saying were completely incorrect. So I'm doing a comparison on all issues between both events. And that's another one. Spinnakers and things like that. GGR, get it down as best you can with nothing. Vendée, but most of them are furlers. They just roll them up and put them away. So, again, you're a champion, Pat. See you soon. Wow, do you know how to use computer, Don? Cheapest. That's Jane. Yes, of course I do, because if I don't, I ask Jane. G'day, Mike. G'day. Adelaide watching. I saw a thing about Old Dinger Beach. You probably saw it. Fantastic place. Rathlin's not boring at all. To non-state of the basic info is gold. Thanks a lot. Can you explain how the boats are going to cross at Panama, land or water? I might leave that till the next one, because we're getting a bit long on this, but I'll tell you exactly what the process is tomorrow. We're going overland, and I'll tell you how we're going to do it, and hopefully do it fast. Rockingham watching is getting interesting, and Peter Punk heading for some good breeze in a few days. Could well do. That's the beauty of what's going on. This is, as I mentioned, one of the last, sort of big potential weather changes. And it's always good to know that they're not using all the same routing program that the computer tells them where to go. It's like the GGR. Everyone just scatters. They've all got their own opinion, and they're getting various different bits of information. So don't get me wrong. Once again, I'm not saying that Peeler is doing something wrong. It's just interesting. I'm not sure what she's up to. So let's wait and see. Thanks for providing updates and putting some meat in the bones of the tracker data. Cool. Salto Noctu Navigori, Italian, Roma. Hi from Scottish West Coast. Will there be a limit in the 26 Transat? Probably, yes. Probably 20 again. I haven't decided that. The Transat's going to be very popular, but there is a few reasons why we want to keep the 20. And, we don't want too many boats as logistics gets harder. And wait and see. This happened to the MGR. When we announced the MGR, we had a limit of 30 boats, okay? And people went nuts and said, there's not enough, I'm going to get there. And what really happens is, if you're going to join, you have to put your money up. And no entry fees are refundable under any circumstances. Once you pay your money, that's it. It's gone if you don't turn up, because we want people to be absolutely certain they're going to make the start. And so in the end, we had 18 people that paid their entry fees for the MGR, and now by the time we get to it, once the start line's imminent, we're back to 15, and I think it'll be the same. I think 20 sounds about right. I'll be very happy if we get 20 entrants for the Transat, because there'll be a big rush and there'll be a lot of people planning. Yes, I'm going to go, but only a few will actually throw their hat in the ring and sign on. So it will be 20. You can see we had 12 boats in the marina at Rubicon Marina. That was a beautiful spot. We'll be rafted up. That's the space we've got again from Raphael there. And when we have 20, that's we'll be rafted 2 up. We don't want too many more. And in Lagos, we can fit quite a few. But 20 is a nice fleet, because also, and this is an important one, if you've got 80 boats in the event, right, like the 650s, you don't know who's there. You pick 4 or 5 and you follow them. If you've got 20, you'll follow the whole lot and get the whole story. It's quite fun and it's quite different. So there's a couple of valid reasons to keep it to 20. So that's about what it'll be. I think, cheapest, I've just lost the scale here. Okay, can they use a routing program on their boats? No, we say they're not supposed to have routing. It's banned on the boats as well. In fact, Lot wanted to use a predict wind for their Go execs, and we said, no, you can't do that, because once you sign on with their media package, their data package, you sort of get a free routing program, and you can develop polars and all sorts of things. So it's too hard. So you're not supposed to be using the predict wind communications package on your Go exec. So that's it there. Can you say something about the experience of using the hydrovane as the main rudder? Well, I can't because I've never done it, but I have used a hydrovane. We've got a hydrovane on our Swan 57 from the Ocean Globe race, but we've fitted one on we've got another boat, a Beneteau 423 in Fiji, which is the Globe 580 office. Okay, Jane and I will be based on that boat in Fiji while they're sailing across the Pacific, and it's got a hydrovane. We just sailed it 2,200 miles from Tahiti to Vuda Marina, which are our fantastic hosts in Fiji. Beautiful place, and I've been involved with hydrovanes a lot in the GGR and all that sort of stuff. So my opinion is that the central position, replacing the main rudder on the 580, as long as you first of all make absolutely certain that at all times the rudder is tied to the back of the boat. If the mounting pin never breaks, you're not going to lose that rudder. Is that will work. It's just on fire. It's just an amazing system because it's super powerful for even much bigger boats in its motion. The mechanics. So the mechanics of it works really well. Bulletproof. It'll go around the world 3 or 4 times probably. And the main rudder, normally on the hydrovane, is a lot smaller than the ship's rudder on a bigger boat, like a 45-footer or something like that. And so it'll steer those boats. You balance the sails a bit on the 580. It's steering through the main rudder then. So it's exactly the same area as the main rudder. So you're not losing or gaining any surface area. It's quite slick foil shape, and it'll steer with a tiller like normal. We have to approve the engineering of that fitting of the tiller, and also we have to give advice and opinion on the mounting system on the transom to make sure it's strong enough. But I think it's bulletproof. It's fantastic. Having said that, I'd also say that any of the servo pendulum systems like the Sea Feather or the Wind Pilot or the South Atlantic, a servo pendulum system has some advantages for a fin keel boat, and the 580 is a fin keel boat. So they all should be doing a good job. Okay, and some are, the main thing is the entrant themselves needs to know the system, because even the hydrovane, as much as it's very simple, it's like an outboard motor. You just plug it on the back of the boat and it goes. You don't have to adjust lines and all that sort of stuff. But you've still got some very sensible adjustments you can do. There's a gearbox there that changes the ratios. You've got a pin, you can pull the pin out and you can go hole 1, 2, or 3, or completely disengage. So you just pull the pin and slide across and drop it in one of those holes. As a starting point, it's in the middle in hole 2. But the flip-flop vane action like that, which goes as far as you want, in hole 1, it just deflects the rudder a little bit. In hole 2, it deflects it a little bit more. In hole 3, it directs it quite a lot, like the gain on electric autopilot, which is very clever. And when it's disengaged, you can steer by hand through the tiller. So it's cool, but all systems have got their own advantages and disadvantages. Some have chosen to mount it offset from the main rudder and leave the main rudder on board. And in fact, that's what both the designer, Janis Medeski, really great guy. He's happy with all this stuff. It's quite cool for him. And also the manufacturers of the hydrovane recommend leave the main rudder, put it onto the side. The conversation started about removing the ship's rudder and putting the hydrovane there some time ago, and from my limited experience with basic aeronautical knowledge and having the hydrovane blade next to the ship's rudder, the closer it gets, the worse it could perform, because you're going to get turbulence. One of the foils is going to stall and all that sort of stuff. And so because of the unusual nature, it's such a small boat, the rudders are the same. Why have 2 rudders there? You just don't need it. And the blade itself of the hydrovane is so large, being the same size, the same size as the main rudder, you don't have to worry about using the main rudder to counterbalance any weather helm you might have, because I'm getting real complicated here. So this is boring, bugger off, but it's the weekend. So in other words, with any wind vane, either an Aries or a Wind Pilot or the South Atlantic, you can actually use the main ship's rudder as a trim tab, because if you've got weather helm, you put your weather helm on so the boat's steering a straight course and keep your tiller up a bit. And at that point, you connect your wind vane control lines to the tiller as if it was central, but it's not central. It's got a slight offset to counterbalance the balance of the boat, because you're driving the sails and go faster. And so the wind vane thinks at that point that's the central point to then start adjusting the course down or up, down or up. And you can do exactly the same thing with the wind vane, with the hydrovane, where if you've got some helm, if you've got a ship's rudder plus the hydrovane rudder, you use the ship's rudder to kick in a bit of helm balance, then you lock the ship's rudder, and then you engage the hydrovane auxiliary rudder, and that steers the boat from there. So your main rudder is a trim toe. You don't need to do that with the 580 because the rudders are the same size, and it's so powerful. It's just like a person steering for you. So I have a lot of faith, and I haven't done it because I haven't sailed on a 580 with the hydrovane. I think that'll steer as good as a human if there's enough apparent wind coming across the flip-flop vane to activate the rudder. So it could be cool. So, and then a little side note to that, if you really want to go fast and you've got a big, powerful boat like a Beneteau 423, like someone sailed from Tahiti to Fiji and didn't want to hang around, and the boat was set up for single-handed sailing, and Jane was on board having fun, I quite often use the autopilot plus the hydrovane together, and it's just like a truck, just unbelievable. Because sometimes if you've got the hydrovane with a big boat, you can overpower it and it'll start to round up, and then the apparent wind starts to get really strong, and as you're going up into the wind, and the whole thing just takes off on a blinder and you can't control it, and you've got to take over and bring it back. The same thing can happen with an electric autopilot, right? With the electric autopilot, you're on course, a wave hits you, starts to round a little bit, the apparent wind increases, the pressure goes, it goes over. Put them together, it just goes. It's quite funny, Jane. Anyway, that's another story. All right, I digress. That's enough. Look at that. Jeepers. One last comment from Andrew. Give me a Navic any day. Mine took me solo to the Faroe Islands and back. Worked perfectly downwind. Goes through that. Mate, I couldn't agree more. My very first wind vane on my very first boat that I finally took off on, a boat called Sky, was a Dunkerson 29, and I imported a brand new Navic wind vane from France. It cost a fortune. I think it was about, I don't know, I forget the numbers, $1,500 back then in 77 or something, 1977. The best wind vane you could ever get. They're fantastic. And I still love them. I'm on the Navic Facebook group because I still think they're hot. They're a very cool little wind vane there. A servo pendulum system with a trim tab blade. It's really slick. Anyway, I digress. It's boring. I'll leave it at that. So cheapest, it's an hour. Okay, I'm going to try for a classic ending again here. I'll see you later tomorrow sometime between 12 and 2. And I'll see if I press the right button again. Thanks for that.
Witness history in the making. The McIntyre Mini Globe Race 2025. Small boat, huge adventure.